This podcast would not be possible without the support and friendship of my Patreon backers. I want to thank Rob Burnett, Mary Thomas, John Munson, Terry Smith, Bella Pori, Crystal Carroll, Dale Hosick, Andrew Goddard, Stephen Malio, Anna Lynn, Betsy Hodges, Randy Brown, Chris Bloom, and Steve Rogers. I appreciate you so much, and I hope to see you all at a show sometime soon.
So I
Right.
totally understand like being really disappointed, especially if you look at it from that perspective of like what we've been through over the past 3 years as a society. So I get that. I think the anger is a little misplaced. I don't necessarily think, you know, yes, Bruce is ultimately responsible, right? But at the same time, they're just trying to put on a show. They got, who knows how many tours they got left. We always forget how many hands need to be fed.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately we don't necessarily know the details.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Set Listing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am forever optimistic and loyal Jesse Jackson, your host. Joining me tonight is a return guest. Kyle is returning, joining me back on the mic. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well, Jesse. How are you? Excited to be back. Excited to be talking again. Such a fun experience joining you last time. Felt like, I could have kept going. So excited to be invited back and excited to chat.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it too. In case someone has not heard your original episode, tell us about yourself.
Oh, for sure. If you haven't listened, my name's Kyle Gordon. I'm 36 years old now. Had a birthday a few weeks ago in July. Grew up in Massachusetts, born and raised. Have a lovely wife and a 2-year-old daughter, and just an avid Springsteen fan, and got the gene sort of passed down from my dad, and it's just nice to be able to talk to fellow Springsteen fans, right? I always say, my wife gets sick of hearing it sometimes, right? It's nice to just talk to someone, talk to, different people like yourself about, the fandom, the tour, the news, whatever it is. And, sometimes, like we were saying earlier, sometimes, being able to talk through this stuff allows you to kind of, it's a distraction from some of the craziness that's going on in the world today. So definitely
Yeah.
excited to chat through and glad to be back. And I appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, were you able to get tickets? And if so,
Yes.
to what shows?
Yes, for sure. So it was a unique situation. I'm sure all of your guests and yourself, and did the whole Ticketmaster verified process, and really, didn't have a ton of issues with it. I was a lucky one to be able to get the code. Waited in the queue. I think when I got in there, it was 2,000 people. Followed along that process, and I only got I got selected to the Boston show. So it's about 30 minutes from me. It'll be great. March 20th. I'm glad they went with the Boston Garden, the TD Garden there. I think that's a great venue for him. I've never seen him there, so it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I got seats towards like the back right of the stage. So
Okay.
about 25 rows up in the loge. So definitely looking forward to it. It seems far away, but it'll be here before you know it. I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. So I take it you were able to get a section you were happy with and at a
Yeah.
cost you were happy with.
Yeah, I was overall, right. I think obviously seeing the feedback, the negative feedback, that a lot of other people are obviously having towards the tickets. To me, it's less about Bruce. I'm a Pearl Jam fan, right? And you go back to, the issues that, Ticketmaster, they've had with Ticketmaster over the years. I think it's unfortunately when you have these people in power of those tickets, it's sort of the nature of the business. I think no issues. I think my biggest thing was they were a little bit above face value when I got in there, but I think it was, and again, I'm not an expert on it, just based on what I read, is because I was in there early. So that
Hmm.
demand pricing, certainly it wasn't as high, right? And it's starting
Yeah.
to come back down now. I have a feeling, and again, I understand people are upset, and I totally get it. I think tickets will go down as we get closer to the show as well. I think optimistic there. And it's the nature of the music business in general now, right? This isn't, I was saying to my dad, he's like, I saw Springsteen for $15. I'm like, well, that's a little bit, it's a little bit different nowadays, right? So,
Yeah.
there's different parties that there's different key stakeholders in the game. It's not just Bruce and a manager, right? It's a lot of other different factors. So certainly understand people's frustration, but yeah, overall positive experience for me. And I think, if people want to see them, they'll see them. Hopefully that's sort of the gist of it. Obviously, I think the backlash warranted is probably a little bit over the top in my opinion, but totally, like I said, totally understand people's perspective. Curious your thoughts as well.
So, I've kind of gotten beat up on social media of, I guess, because I'm not joining the
Yeah.
pitchfork,
Yeah.
and torch mob. I saw someone, and I am not judging anyone's reactions. What I'm saying is I'm curious. Someone said that they will not renew their personalized Bruce license plate because of this
Oh
situation.
God, that's dire.
I'm like, okay, you loved Bruce enough that you paid extra to get
Yeah.
and he's done something to anger you so much, this situation, that you are not going to do your license. Someone just tonight, when we recorded right before, said, um, you are wrong in your loyalty to Bruce Springsteen. Just,
Wow.
it's misplaced loyalty is how he put
Yeah.
it. I would hope that, I have been married over 35 years. If I
Hmm.
hope I made a bad mistake,
Hmm.
that my wife, while would be really pissed at me,
Hmm.
would hope that she would work with me to get past this.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing, is I understand that, I can understand the disappointment. I can understand the frustration. I
Yep.
can even understand the anger at the situation.
Hmm.
I just don't understand the anger toward the
Yeah.
band and Bruce.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I think, a lot of it, I think if you look at it, if you take a step back, right, and look at it from just sort of like outside of the Bruce concert situation, right? You had a pandemic, right? And you still do in some, some matter, right? Like, whether,
Hmm.
wherever you are on the status of COVID, it
Yeah,
still exists in to a degree.
it's still
But
getting it. People,
yes, yes. And
yeah,
you had an extreme situation, life altering situation for a lot of people.
yeah,
And, you know, concerts have always been a gateway to sort of, relieve stress and take your mind off things. So that stopped. Right. And you had if you're a Bruce fan, you had a couple albums come out. And you really haven't been able to sort of hear that live music and
right,
sort of that sort of relief of stress. And then, we're all excited, right? It's 2023. We feel like
yeah,
we'll be in the prime.
yay,
Yeah, Bruce delayed it, probably another,
yeah,
it should have been 2022, it was 2023. So now we're finally here. Everyone's ready to go. And then, they can't afford the tickets. So I
right,
totally understand like being really disappointed, especially if you look at it from that perspective of like what we've been through over the past 3 years as a society. So I get that. I think the anger is a little misplaced. I don't necessarily think, yes, Bruce is ultimately responsible, right? But, at the same time, they're just trying to put on a show. They
yeah,
got, who knows how many tours they got left. We always forget how many hands need to be fed.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately we don't necessarily know the details, right? And this dynamic pricing, do I believe in it? No, right? Like I think face value should be face value. I do like that they got the bots out of there with the verified code. I think that's a step in the right direction.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, will he release a statement? I'd love your perspective on that too. Like, I don't necessarily know if he will.
So I don't know what he could say
Right. What's he gonna
to,
do?
yeah,
Return people's money? Yeah.
what can he say to make people feel better?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, why is it he spoke? Okay, what can he say that will make you not be mad at him?
Outside of refunding, I mean, there's not going to be much he can do,
Right.
right? No.
Now, I wish, there's been a lot of talk about, well, we should go back where we all stand in line to get tickets. And, that, technology isn't going to go backwards. But I do wish that if I go to Uber and
Mhm.
and I'd never seen this before because I don't use Uber very often. And
Right.
so I downloaded the Uber app, and there is a connection. I was in Pittsburgh, PA for the very first show of the River Tour,
Oh, nice.
2000, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I took an Uber to get to this, and everything went perfect. Man, this was
Yeah.
nice. He was a fun guy. He was friendly. He dropped me right there. And so then after the show, I go, oh, there are no rides available. Oh, and if they are, it is 6 times the price.
Yep.
And I do wish that, and they don't want to, but if I wish that Ticketmaster had to say surge pricing or dynamic pricing 5 times face value,
Yes.
7 times face value, so that, because at this point you don't know what the face value is,
Right.
right? When you get there, you just know, hey, this is this is what I'm able to pay. I ended up getting 3 tickets for Tulsa, about
Good for you.
180, 190 each,
Yep.
and then 3 tickets for Dallas, between 180, 190 each.
Mhm.
I know one of them is 170. I know one of them is 180. I don't remember
Yep.
which one is which. And then I'm going to Houston. That's a whole nother story, that I'm way paying too much to go to Houston, but there's a long story that we can talk about later.
For
And I'm waiting on Austin right
Okay.
now. The cheapest ticket to Austin is upper level on the side of the stage, about 220.
Okay.
And I'm like, if the show was tomorrow, I'd buy it in a
You're
minute
there.
and
Yeah.
go. But since I do have 3 nights
I was gonna say.
and it's not till February, I'm going to wait and see what happens.
I like that. I like that
Yeah.
move. And I agree on the pricing. And I think ultimately, to put a bow on it, like I think ultimately I understand people's frustration. I think, continue to keep an eye on those ticket prices. I'm looking at Foxwoods Casino in
Yeah.
Connecticut. I would love to go to that show. It's a really, really small venue. Prices are out of control. I think the highest price right now, the lowest price right now is like 500, $600 to get in the door. Yeah, I ended up paying 210 a ticket, which is okay.
But it
And
sounds like you got a lower level.
yeah, I got a lower level, so I was in
That's
there
not, yeah,
early. I
that's
jumped
great. Yeah.
on it. So no, I'm super happy. I'm looking forward to it. I think, hopefully, and I know Bruce is going to bring it. I think
Yeah.
once he gets on stage, all of this drama will go away, and he'll do what he does best. And I think people ultimately are, if they're there, they're going to enjoy it,
Hmm.
and continue to look at those prices.
So I have that question for you.
Yeah.
A couple people have said that the tone of the pit will be different
Mhm.
because um, all the people that have paid all this money to be in the pit. Now, I am not a pit guy. I do not embrace the magic of the pit. I don't
Mhm.
need that. I'm old. I like a chair.
I don't
So,
blame you.
and so I think the reality is, unlike, let's say a Dallas Cowboy football game,
Mhm.
that it became during the 90s when they were winning, that it became a place to be seen.
Yep.
So there are
A
a lot of people,
corporate
a
again.
lot of
Yeah.
corporate things going there that I just don't picture that many
No.
corporate people are going to want to pay for, over $1,000 to be in the pit. I still think you are going to have the same type of fans that are yelling and screaming and feeling that energy.
Yeah, I mean, we have a similar thing, on the football side, here in New England and Boston with the Patriots.
Yeah.
It's become, they call it the wine and cheese crowd now.
Yeah.
It's very corporate,
Yes.
since they started winning in the early 2000s. And,
Yeah.
it's not as loud as it used to be. And it's not,
Right.
it's sort of engaging, but that's football, right? Like,
Yeah.
to be, where you're going to see a lot of corporate folks at a concert is in the suites, right? Like
Right.
that's where people are going to go. They're going to rent a box. They're going to go with their coworkers or sales associate, whatever they're going to do. Yeah, the pit's going to be the pit because, and also it could be a little bit extra rowdy if you think about it. I'm paying top dollar to be down there. I'm going to go all out, right? I look at it like that. I don't think you're going to have these elitists, if you will, these elitist people sort of sitting front row, and they're going to be the avid fans, and they're going to be ready to go. And I think, they'll be extra energized because they know they just spent a small fortune to sit there.
I love that thought, right? Like, heck yes. I told this story to other people. Last year, buddy of mine, some buddies of mine did a field trip. And so we went to see Kiss in Fort Worth.
Oh, nice.
And I had never seen Kiss back, Jesse in high school, Kiss Alive,
Yeah.
Kiss Rock and Roll Over, Kiss Historia were on, those 8 tracks were on my, rotation. And so we went, and we did not pay for good seats. We were in the top, top
Yeah.
risers, and we were having fun. And there was a guy in front of me that never sat down. And so he blocked my view to the stage totally. And I
Yeah.
either had to go to the right or go to the
Yeah.
left. And a couple of my buddies said, "Why didn't you ask him to sit down?" And I
Yeah.
said, "No, he knew every word.
He was into
He
it.
was in that. And, this was his Bruce Springsteen. You
Yep.
could tell this was, I've seen Kiss." And I said, I had so much joy
Mhm.
seeing him enjoying it so much,
There's something there, and I think, like, I have cousins that are, like their
Yeah.
favorite bands are bands that, you wouldn't even know, you can't stand, or you're like,
Right.
why is this person a fan of this band? But when they are there and you go with them, I mean, it's totally like it's like for us being at a Bruce concert. And I think,
Absolutely.
it's going to be so interesting. I know we'll get into it in a little bit, just like the vibe of the show, right? Like, to
Right.
me, there's going to be that anticipation, for, the day of, weeks of
Yeah.
that, anywhere he stops off. One question on the tickets I had for you, and
Yeah.
maybe your other guests have, brought this up. I think what also will be interesting to see, and maybe it's the same dynamic pricing, but when he announces the small string of stadium shows that I believe he's doing in the US sort of in the
Yeah.
fall, that will be interesting if there's any, like, the backlash sort of carries over into those other shows. That will be interesting.
Yeah. And, like Arena, if, with the fall and what we're going to do, I also, I wonder, I talked to a lady from Australia earlier today. She does a podcast, and she was talking about how much she had gotten to see Bruce last time he'd gone under. And she was speculating, will he come back on
Yeah.
this tour? And I
Totally.
don't know. You would think he would, you would think they want to do that. So yeah,
I know
it will be very
he's loved
interesting.
playing over there too, right?
Yeah.
He loves playing down there. Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't
Mhm.
know if I wonder if he'll, like, for example, he'll do a big Dallas show, right? Like,
Right.
will he do a stadium show in those cities he's already played in? That will be interesting too.
Well, and I hope not, because I've been told by multiple people that the sound in the AT&T Stadium, Jerry World, is absolutely horrible.
That doesn't
The
surprise me.
acoustics are just horrible. So I would go, but I'm sure I would go like, I can't understand
Yeah,
anything.
it's a massive sort of just,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a massive stadium. Yeah, no, you'd have to go, but
Yeah.
you're not expecting sort of the best quality of sound for sure.
All right. So I thought we'd change the subject.
Love it.
What are you expecting in the tour? Let's
Well,
forget all the drama. Let's say everyone got most of the people ended up getting the tickets they wanted at the price they paid. They've forgiven Bruce. We're all excited about a tour. What do you think we're going to see?
It's going to be interesting. I think I want to probably start with like length, right? Length of show,
Yeah.
right? I saw him in last time I saw him was the River Tour, like you said, and it's similar to you. It's 2016, and it was one of his last shows on the tour. It might have been his last one in Foxborough, and he played over 4 hours. And so right off the bat, I'm like, is he going to do 3? Like, I probably will think it would be in the sort of 3-hour kind of time frame. That being said, he opened up. He played a lot of the old stuff that night. It wasn't the River Tour, right? It was
right.
It was New York Serenade. He opened up with. It was a lot of the Pre-Born to Run stuff, which was just fantastic. Selfishly, I would love to see him go in a little bit of a different direction, like sort of what if I think, like you said, if we're coming up with a perfect set list or whatever that is, I think you're going to get tons of energy. I don't know this is the last tour. I don't think you're going to get tons of acoustic piano performances. I could be totally wrong.
Right.
I think you're going to get the band at its largest and its grandest, if you will.
Do you think he will go just the core band, or will he do a horn section?
Oh, great question. I'm going to say just the core band.
Okay.
I think it's just, I'm going off of sort of just the Letter to You.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It felt like he got the group back together and they sort of really hit their stride with that album. I felt like.
All right. I agree. For fun, someone asked me and I ended up making a 34 song set list.
I love that.
So I decided, all right, 34, that seems like a good number.
That's a great set list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
So
number.
that would, depending how long the songs are, I agree with you. I think they are going to be right at 3 hours. I think maybe, 248, 252 to, 310. I don't think they're going to go that crazy again. Steven has said that he thinks that's crazy, in a couple of interviews. And he has said that, but he did say, 2.5, 3 hours, that seems about right. So I don't think we're getting a 90-minute.
No,
like many of the guys. I think they're going to want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think 3 hours is a great number, right? Like a 2.5 to 3. That's a nice set.
Yeah.
For both the audience and I think the band, right? Just going all out the whole time. 34 song set list that, it's interesting. I think I think I hit on this a little bit on the last time we spoke, but I would love, to me, Letter to You is a really similar album, just sort of sound and nostalgia wise to Darkness. I would love to see sort of a Burning Train, Badlands sort of intro back to back. I think that would be a great way to sort of kick things off if we're talking openers.
So I'll tell you what, why don't we I'll go through mine.
Oh, please. I want to hear yours.
Right. And then and then we can have you come back on and you could share yours.
Yes, please. I want to hear it.
I have for the longest time thought Burning Train will be the first song, but I said that he's going to do Ghost, Burning Train, Badlands, top 3. But before he even says hello, I think they come out and they just hit those 3 right away.
Oh, that would be Ghost leading off. I'm picturing it in my head now. That might be sort of the one to do.
Yeah. and then my next thing is I said a triple shot from the river. Sherry Darling, Hungry Heart, Out in the Street. Three
Yep.
fun little songs. We're going, we're going all there. And then Prove It All Night and Backstreets.
Yep.
Right? Kind of okay. That's kind of we've gone through the things.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that'd be
And
amazing.
I said I would love Hello Sunshine, Tucson
Yep.
Train, Sleepy Joe Cafe as little Western Stars
Yep. I
trilogy.
hope he plays a little bit of the Western
Yeah.
Stars album.
Now I don't know. I mean, I know Sleepy Joe Cafe isn't a lot of people's favorites. I would go, but I would like to see, if I was building this, a little Western Stars little highlight, right? Like let's
Yeah.
just do 2 or 3 together and there I think
Let's
would work fine.
recognize the album, right? It was a great
Right.
album. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever is sort of the combination of those songs.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. Then I've got he's just picking like Atlantic City,
Yeah.
Racing in the Street,
Yep.
Blinded by the Light, then Brilliant Disguise and All That Heaven Will Allow. Pull a couple
Okay.
from Tunnel of Love.
Yes, you got to have it.
Yeah. And then for the non-Springsteen, right, the darkness years, I love All or Nothing at All and then Better Days, which is one of my favorite songs.
I love
Those are
Better
my
Days.
two, like, no way that's going to happen. But it's my wish list, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think those are amazing, and I think
Yeah.
that's a great set list. I think and again, sort of in prep for this call, I sort of was like thinking about the ways that he could go with it, and again, I think everyone's sort of riding on that Burning Train, Badlands sort of
Right.
combo to kick things off. I've never seen, like, I listen to it a lot in my car, is a lot of that sort of electric Nebraska stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think like Johnny 99, Atlantic City. That'd be cool if he could do some sort of combination of that and maybe lead that into sort of the born in the USA. A Bobby Jean, downbound train combo. I think any like semblance of bringing those together. And because he started off with the older stuff, the pre-born to run stuff where I last saw him, I'd love to see him finish with that, sort of like finish with Growing Up. I think that would be super cool, right?
Absolutely.
And kind of do a reverse sort of arc of his career. I
said I had kind of, before we do the first encore, I thought it'd be kind of nice to do Thunder Road and The Promise right next to each other. Kind of going into our break. So
I think isn't The Promise supposed to be sort of a follow-up to Thunder Road, lyrically, right? So
right.
Being able to tell that story, and then sort of, I know you had obviously, Brilliant Disguise on there. Songs that I would want to hear.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not expecting would be like a Streets of Fire.
That'd be fun.
And Tunnel of Love. I think if you could hear sort of, those are two of my favorite songs. I think
that's good.
That would be that Streets of Fire would just be, it's such a kick-ass sort of just song. And if they're going hard, that might be a great way to do it.
So have you thought about like an encore, like what you would love to see at an encore?
Yes. I mean, you got to think, right? The lights are going to be on,
right.
The lights are going to, I think, let's keep it going. Right. Like if you're going to close out with Growing Up, I would, you mentioned those 3 songs from the river.
Yeah.
To me, the river is like some of the best sort of just upbeat, dance songs out there. I would love to see it close out with, Sherry Darling, Cadillac Ranch, something like that, just to keep it going. One thing we haven't really touched on is 10th Avenue Freeze Out too. Like, I think.
Well, so here's my wish list that will never happen, but if I was programming it right, he'd come back from the break, they go into Power of Prayer, and then If I Was the Priest, and then 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Born to Run, Dancing in the Dark, because he still does Dancing in the Dark,
Got to do it.
No Surrender, American Land, Land of Hope and Dreams, and then I'll See You in My Dreams solo and send us
Ooh,
all home.
I love it. I think I could see him closing out with if I could see you in my dreams. I think what he did for the 9/11 memorial was a really
Yes.
great version of that song.
You know how,
Yeah,
because he's done every once in a while a solo Thunder Road, right? To
yes,
close the show. I could
yes.
see him doing I See You in My Dreams solo as kind of the last little thing to us.
Part of me, that's why I want to do what you're doing, is go to multiple shows.
Right.
And so you get a better chance of seeing
Yeah.
that. It's going to be, we're what, 8 months out, and
Yeah.
we're already talking about
Oh,
songs
the
that we want.
anticipation. So my son doesn't always listen to the podcast, but he did watch the 2-hour video, the YouTube where we had the ticket discussion, and
Yeah.
he said his favorite line was the guy who said his wife asked him, why did you get tickets to 2 Springsteen shows? And his answer was, because I couldn't get tickets for 3.
Right,
And my
exactly.
son was like, oh, he owns it, he loves it. So yeah.
I mean, and let's be perfectly honest, like, this might be it, right? Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows what the hell will happen in life?
So this is morbid, and we're a safe place right here.
Oh yeah, this is okay to say.
And I realize this is a cheap shot, but what would people pay to hear Olivia Newton-John perform again?
Oh,
As she,
exactly.
right, she
And she's
just
73
passed.
years old.
Yeah, she
So
just passed just
yeah.
2 days ago.
Yep.
And so, and there are tons of tributes for her and everything. And you go to see Prince again, to
Oh
see
man.
Bowie again, right? Like, I'm not saying you have to be morbid, but you just, once again, you have to keep in perspective, we are not guaranteed necessarily that much time, right?
Nope. Nope.
We are not. And to give us this, to have a chance to see him again, to see the band again, I just, I have to have a spirit of thankfulness. And maybe people are, well, it's easy to you. You've got tickets for 3 shows. Yes, but I didn't need to be in the pit. I
Right.
mean, 2 of my shows are in upper levels,
You
lead
just want to be
shows.
there.
I want to be in there. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. That, it is what I want to be. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, I
I
think,
love it.
like, it's not morbid at all. I think, it's realistic.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
probably the best way to describe it, right?
Mhm.
Like, not only the band, but we're all, I don't know if my dad's gonna come. I got 2 tickets. It might be my wife. We'll see what kind of plays out. But I think,
Yeah.
it's just, time is, like you said, it's fragile. No one knows what's going to happen
Yeah.
tomorrow. Who knows? Could be another pandemic, right?
Right.
I bought insurance on my tickets. So I was like,
Well,
who
that was
knows?
smart.
Yeah. I was like, who
Yeah.
knows what this world's going to be doing, right? So,
Mhm.
obviously super excited. To me, it's a positive thing. It's thankfulness. This tour is probably, what, 3 years later than it should be, right?
Yeah.
And
And I know he's ready for it, right?
oh
Like,
my
he
God,
is
he's itching.
so
He's starting
ready.
to, like, show up more and
Yeah.
play more. Those first couple rehearsals are gonna be fun for the band, and then they're
Yeah.
all itching. No,
I think so.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's gonna be
So
fun.
what do you think, if you had to guess, not what you wish, but what you guess, how many songs from Western Stars and how many from Letter to
Mm,
You do you think we'll get?
it's a great question. I think if I had to guess, you're gonna get more Letter to You. I would probably lean, I'd say, Burning Train. If I was a priest, I could see him playing, like, Janie Needs a Shooter,
Yeah.
and then The Power of Prayer, something like that. I'd say 4.
Okay.
And then, Western Stars, I think it could be, like, 3 sounds like the right number that you had. I could see it being, 1 to 2.
Yeah.
Because that, I think of that sort of setup, right? That was a big band.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
also think we kind of hurt that he never kind of had planned a tour for that, so that's why
Right.
he did the film. It's and I think there might be like Atlantic City wasn't originally an E Street Band song and it became one.
Right.
So there might be one of those. But yeah, I think if you get I think the 3 is the most we're gonna get. And that's probably being overly optimistic. I just don't
Yeah.
think he will. Yeah.
I would love to see, you know, and again, it's the B band or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call them, but I would love to see something from those albums, right? I think,
Yeah.
I think I said this on the call last time, like, as I get older, those albums become better and better.
Yeah.
I think it's some of his best songwriting.
Yeah.
And again, you got to get past that. It's not, Clarence. But they're great songs. It's a great band. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
that's
Mhm.
that's the key with that album,
Yeah.
those albums.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, do you do you you think you don't picture what how much do you think the set list will change? I mean, do you
Yeah.
like we're he's notoriously right for like Wrecking Ball at the early two, he did a lot more Wrecking Ball songs. And then he started touring. He goes back to more of a
Mhm.
mix. So what do you think he's going to do? Do you think
Yeah,
he'll
I think it's a great question. I think
yeah,
it's a fun one to discuss because I think it was similar on that river tour too, right? He
yeah,
started off, heavy river.
yeah,
And then by the time he got to the show I was at Gillette,
yeah,
might have played like 3 songs from the river, right?
yeah,
So ultimately, I think because technically this is not a named tour of an
yeah.
album, right? It's just Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. I think it's going to be a mix.
I think so too.
He doesn't have to try to, I definitely think you're going to hear the new album or, newish album at this point.
Yeah,
But, it's not a letter to you tour. So
right.
he's not going to play it start to finish. I could see him doing, and again, this is maybe a little bit wishful thinking, but, maybe he plays an album start to finish at different shows, right? Like
Yeah,
maybe he plays, Born in the USA start to finish, in one night, and then
yeah.
plays Born to Run the other. Like that would be kind of cool.
I'd
Um,
love to see Magic,
oh, great album.
just one of those, where the, the I think people would go crazy if they're like, we're doing Letter to You in its entirety.
Oh man,
That would
that's
be a ticket.
special.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be a ticket that everyone's like, oh, I've got to go there. I've got to go there. Yeah.
No, and
Um,
that's special, right? You don't necessarily know you're gonna get it until you hear like 3
yeah.
songs in. And you're like,
Mhm.
okay, this
Yeah.
is, darkness in order.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What else? Anything else we need to talk about? This was a fun catch up.
Oh my God, no, no. Like I said, I am super. Anytime you have me come back, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think obviously just wanted, obviously saw
Yeah.
your great, episode you had on the Zoom. I think,
Okay.
you know,
Thanks.
it's such a hot topic issue. I mean, it's making, making evening news, right? It's one
Yeah,
of the
it
biggest
is.
stories in the
Yeah.
country, which so again wanted to come on and just kind of share my
Well,
perspective,
appreciate that.
knowing that it was similar
Yeah.
similar to yours, right? Like again,
Yeah.
understand, but also like I think you nailed it. Thankfulness is sort of the tone I'm looking at. I'm trying to, we've all been through so much over the past 3 years. Let's keep this positive no matter
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
corporate entities do. So again, thanks for having me on. Let's,
No problem.
I'm sure we'll stay in touch through Twitter,
Yeah.
through
So,
text, and let's chat shows as it gets closer.
are you getting to play Springsteen Hurdle?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I will say some of them 1 second,
Right. Yeah. That's it. Me too.
and then some of them I can't get.
Like some
So,
of them, I'm like, uh,
yep.
uh,
Yep.
oh,
There
and
was
then
one.
yeah,
There was one I was mad at myself. I forget what it was because I ran out of time and then I realized it. But yeah, oh, it's so fun. Um,
yeah,
it's
um,
my wife's really into Wordle. She does it every day.
Yeah.
And I haven't got on the world train. But
Yeah.
this Springsteen hurdle is perfect for me.
Oh, yeah. And so the lady who designed it, has a little site where you can, leave her a coffee, right? Give her a $5 tip. And
Oh,
so,
great. I got to do that.
I told her that, thank you. And um, she and I'm trying to work on a schedule where she can join me,
Oh, you got to
because
get
that'll
her.
be fun,
Yeah.
right? That's just too fun. I like my most complicated. This was when I was so frustrated is I heard it and I went, oh, that's Ghost of Tom Joad.
Yep.
Wrong.
Yes.
Okay. And I
Yes.
went, okay, let's play it again. All right. Maybe it's, you know, cross the border. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think, and then finally I'm like, no, this is Ghost of Tom Joad
Yeah.
electric version. And I
Oh,
picked that one and it said
yep.
yes. And I'm like, damn it.
You had to be more specific. No,
Yes.
it's really good. And again, I would love to listen if you do get her on, because I would love to know how she goes about sort of picking the songs. Is it completely random and
Yeah,
all of
it
that?
is. It just is. And oh, it's so clever because she builds in the little puns. You were lost in the flood this
Yeah.
time when you don't get it. And and it is funny because I take it with a, like I tweet whether I win or lose,
Yeah.
like
If I don't get
I
it, you
was
don't
an
get it.
idiot
Yeah.
today. I couldn't figure it out. And so yeah, that's been a nice little joy.
It is fun.
Yeah.
It's a little thing to do every day and keep you, keep you going. But
Yeah.
no, I appreciate the time, Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make sure we connect, and we'll
That
connect
sounds
as we
good.
get closer
Yes.
to the show.
Well, definitely before and then after we will,
Oh yeah.
I'm going to be doing tons of post shows,
Oh, would love to
episodes,
come
right?
on for that.
Yeah.
My show is my show.
Yeah. No, I think
Yeah,
that's the right way to think of
yeah,
it.
the Boston show is March 20th. So,
Yeah.
definitely can get on the following week and just,
That'd
talk,
be great.
what audience and vibe and scene. So,
Oh, that sounds
uh, ha-
great.
yeah, have a great fall and have a great
You
end
do
of
the same,
summer.
my
And
friend.
let's
Thank you,
talk
Kyle.
soon.
I appreciate it. Oh, if someone wants to reach you, what's the best way?
Oh yeah, you can reach me at my Instagram at gdiggitydog. And that's probably the best way to reach me
All
right
right.
now. You
That
can
sounds
find me
good.
on Twitter, and we'll connect.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you,
Yeah.
listeners. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye,
Goodbye.
Jesse. Bye.
Doing a podcast at times can be a one-way conversation, and I hate that. So please let me know what you like and don't like about the work I'm doing. You can reach the podcast via email at setlistingbruce@gmail.com. The show is on Twitter at setlistingbruce, and my personal Twitter is at jessejacksondfw. You can support the podcast by subscribing via your favorite podcast player and leaving us a review. The more reviews we have, the easier it is for people to find us. And please tell a friend about the podcast, especially if they love Bruce or music, because it will make a difference. You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.